The week of the John Deere Classic is here, but something feels wrong. TPC Deere Run looks perfect. The Quad Cities are ready to celebrate. Yet, the parking lot is missing the game's biggest names. 14 top stars decided to skip it, all at once. This is not bad luck. This is a mutiny. Sponsors have poured millions into this event for over 50 years. They expect a field full of talent. Instead, they get an empty marquee, and they are furious. Inside the corporate suites, the anger is boiling over. While Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler showed up to represent, the elite tier stayed home. It is a slap in the face to the fans who buy tickets and the companies who write the checks. But here is the real question. Is this just a bad week, or is the tour finally losing control? If players can walk away from a historic event this easily, the whole schedule starts to look meaningless. This is not a random break. This is a warning shot. You clicked because you want to know who the 14 are and why they turned their backs on this tournament. I will give you that breakdown. But to understand the real reason, we have to look past the excuses. This is about money, power, and a system that is starting to crack. Here is my point of view. I think the PGA Tour created a two-class system, and events like the John Deere Classic are paying the price. But I want your take. Are the players right to chase bigger paychecks, or is this straight-up disrespectful? Drop your opinion in the comments. Walk the fairways of TPC Deere Run right now. You will see perfect rough, pristine greens, and a whole lot of empty space where the superstars should be standing. The local fans know the names missing from the tee sheet. They save their vacation days for this exact week. They expect to see the faces that dominate their TV screens on Sunday afternoons. Instead, they are watching a field full of rookies and journeymen grinding to keep their cards. It is a quiet humiliation for a tournament that once drew the biggest names in the sport. Make no mistake, this is not a coincidence. It is not a random holiday break. The 14 players who checked out of the Quad Cities are making a calculated decision. It is about survival. It is about chasing the golden goose. The PGA Tour changed the rules on them. The new schedule is a battlefield. Players used to have a straight path. Now the road is split. If you are ranked inside the top 50, you face a brutal choice. Stay in Illinois for an $8.8 million purse, or skip it to prepare for the millions waiting overseas. The math is unforgiving. That math is exactly why the sponsors in those corporate suites are seeing red. They are paying premium dollars for a product that got downgraded. They built their marketing campaigns around stars who never showed up. The frustration is real, and it is growing. But here is where it gets complicated. If the math is that obvious, why are some players still here? Why did a former major winner choose this small-town event over the bigger checks? That question leads us straight into the locker room. Because the decision to skip is not just about money. It is about loyalty, pride, and a growing distrust between the players and the people running the tour. The 14 are not rebels. They are reacting to a system that forced their hand. And the system is about to crack. Let us look at the field this week. Chris Gotterup is here. The world number 14, a four-time PGA Tour winner, stood at the podium and said something that stung. He said skipping the John Deere Classic never crossed his mind. Not once. He wanted to play, he wanted to win, and he showed up ready to compete. But for every Gotterup, there are a dozen players who booked flights in the opposite direction. Some are heading to Scotland for the Genesis Scottish Open. Others are simply resting, preparing for the major that follows. They look at the calendar and make a cold calculation. Why risk a bad week in Illinois when you can polish your links game in Europe? That logic is hard to argue with, but it ignores the history. The John Deere Classic is not just another stop on the schedule. It is a community institution. It has raised over $200 million for local charities. It brings $75 million in economic impact every single year. The people of the Quad Cities treat this week like a holiday, and the players they idolize just told them they are not worth the travel. That insult would have been enough to spark outrage, but the real bomb was still ticking inside the tour's headquarters. Because the decision to skip is not actually about golf. It is about a document called the Schedule Matrix. The tour divided its events into two tiers. Tier 1 is for the elite, massive purses, limited fields, guaranteed television windows. Tier 2 is for everyone else, smaller checks, less exposure, and a growing sense that the tour does not care if you succeed or fail. The John Deere Classic falls firmly into Tier 2, and that classification has consequences. Here is the ugly math. A top player who finishes in the top 10 at a signature event can walk away with over $2 million. That same player finishing in the top 10 at the John Deere Classic might take home less than half of that. The difference is staggering. It is not just about winning, it is about earning enough to stay relevant in a system that rewards the rich and punishes the rest. Add in the travel factor. The John Deere Classic sits right before the Scottish Open, which sits right before the Open Championship. If you are a player who cares about the majors, you are already packing your bags for Europe. The trip is long, the time zones are brutal, and playing in Illinois means you arrive in Scotland later than your competitors with less practice time and more fatigue. That is a real competitive disadvantage. The 14 players know this. They studied the schedule, they weighed the options, and they decided the risk of losing a major preparation week was too high. So they stayed home. But if that was the whole story, the sponsors would grumble and move on. They are not grumbling. They are furious. Here is why. The tour did not just let this happen. Some inside the building actively encouraged it. Reports emerged in June that the tour asked John Deere to relocate the event to Chicago. A bigger market, more television eyes, a chance to compete with the signature events on equal footing. The tournament director shot that rumor down immediately. He called it fake. He said the tour never asked them to leave. He insisted the event belongs in the Quad Cities. But the fact that the rumor even existed tells you everything. The tour is looking for ways to package and sell events like this. They are treating tradition like a commodity, and the sponsors feel betrayed. Think about what it means to be a title sponsor. You write a massive check. You attach your corporate name to a tournament. You expect the best players in the world to show up and represent your brand. Instead, you get a field that looks like a developmental tour. Your television ratings drop. Your hospitality tents sit half empty. Your return on investment evaporates. John Deere has signed on through 2030. That is a long-term commitment. But how many more years will they pay top dollar for a product that keeps getting downgraded? That is the question haunting every corporate boardroom that sponsors a Tier 2 event. The sponsors are angry. The players are divided. The tour is caught in the middle. But the real victim is the schedule itself. Because when players start treating events like optional stops, the entire season loses its meaning. The FedEx Cup is supposed to create stakes. Every tournament is supposed to matter. But when the top 14 players can skip an event without a second thought, the system is broken. The points they leave behind do not hurt them. The money they miss does not matter. They are protected. They are insulated. They are untouchable. That is the quiet rot at the center of this crisis. The tour created a safety net for its biggest stars. They made sure the elite stayed happy. They gave them guaranteed starts, guaranteed paydays, guaranteed exemptions, and in return, those stars stopped caring about the events that built the tour in the first place. The John Deere Classic is just the first domino. Next year, it could be another event. The year after that, another. The slide is gradual, but the trajectory is clear. The tour is consolidating its value into a handful of shiny objects while letting the rest of the calendar decay. You might be thinking that this is just the natural evolution of professional sports. Stars chase the biggest stage. The small events fade away. That is what happens. But there is a twist in this story that changes everything. The players who skipped are not villains. They are rational actors. They are maximizing their earnings and their preparation. That is what professionals do. The fault does not lie entirely with them. The fault lies with the architects of the system who gave them every incentive to leave. Brian Rolap came from the NFL. He brought a corporate mindset. He looked at the PGA Tour and saw a product that could be streamlined. He wanted fewer events with higher stakes. He wanted the best players to play against each other more often, in front of bigger audiences with bigger purses. On paper, that makes sense. In practice, it created a two-tier league where the bottom tier feels like a punishment. The cut from 125 exempt cards to 100 is a perfect example. 25 players lost guaranteed status. Those are the players who used to fill the fields at events like the John Deere Classic. They are gone. They are grinding elsewhere. And the stars who replaced them, they are not showing up either. So you end up with a field that has no identity. It is not the best. It is not the hungry. It is just the left behind. And left behind is not a product you can sell. Now let us answer the question you clicked for. The 14. Here is the exact list. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, John Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Tony Finau, Justin Thomas, Will Zalatoris, Sam Burns, Cameron Young, Hideki Matsuyama. That is the lineup that stayed home. Every single one of them chose Europe over Illinois. They chose the Scottish Open, the Open Championship prep, or a private jet to a vacation home. They looked at the John Deere Classic and decided it was not worth their time. That is the brutal truth. And that truth stings because those names are not just random. They are the faces of the sport. They sell the merchandise. They drive the ratings. They are the reason casual fans tune in on Sunday afternoons. Without them, the John Deere Classic becomes a hollow shell. The trophy still gets handed out, but the magic is gone. But here is the irony that makes this whole story tragic. The system that pushed them away is the same system that claims to love the game. The USGA and R&A are rolling back the golf ball. They are slowing down the equipment. They want to preserve classic courses. They want to protect the integrity of the sport. Meanwhile, the tour is rolling back the schedule. They are shrinking fields. They are concentrating wealth. They are preserving the elite at the expense of everyone else. The contradiction is obvious. One body is trying to protect the past. The other is trying to build a future, and they are working against each other. The players are caught in the crossfire. They do not trust the governing bodies. They do not trust the tour leadership. They trust their bank accounts and their caddies. And right now, those tell them to stay far away from the John Deere Classic. So where does this leave us? The tournament will happen. Someone will win. Someone will lift the trophy. The fans will cheer. The sponsors will smile for the cameras. And then everyone will pack up and forget about it until next year. But next year, the same story will play out. The same stars will skip. The same anger will boil. And the same questions will go unanswered. Unless something changes. Unless the tour realizes that killing its middle class is killing its soul. Unless the sponsors demand more than lip service. Unless the players understand that loyalty is a two-way street. That is the choice facing professional golf right now. They can keep chasing the big payday and lose the small communities that built the sport. Or they can find a balance. The clock is ticking, and if you think this is just about one tournament in Illinois, you are not paying attention. This is about the future of every event that is not a major or a signature. This is about the regular season. This is about the fans who buy tickets to see their heroes. And this is about a sport that is slowly tearing itself apart. So here is my final point of view. I think the tour needs to wake up. They built a wall around the elite, and now the elite do not care about anything outside that wall. But I want to know your take. Do you blame the players for chasing the money? Or is this entirely on the tour executives? Drop your thought in the comments. Let us settle this debate. And if you made it this far, you are the kind of fan who actually cares. Hit that subscribe button. We are going deeper into this story as the summer unfolds. Because trust me, the John Deere Classic is just the beginning. The real crisis is still coming. Thank you for watching.